Respected Dr. R. Chidambaram, Dr. A.K. Anand, Professor U. Kamachi Mudli, Sri S.K. Sarma, Chief Guest for the today's function, Madam Devrati Basu, Madam Dole Basu, Professor P.D. Nayak, Professor P.C. Selvin, Professor B.K. Nayak, Professor D.K. Maiti, Professor Dipanvita Datta, Professor Misra, Professor Haridas Pal, Professor S.K. Ghosh, Professor Ansu Singhal, dignitaries present online, Dr. R.B. Grover, Mrs. Seema Jain, HNI staff present here, faculty members present online, dear students, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Myself, Naveen Kumar, Associate Dean, HNI. I welcome you all to Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program organized by HBNI. Dr. Sekhar Basu is a renowned nuclear scientist, a great leader, a visionary, and a person of immense character. He has contributed immensely for the Department of Atomic Energy. Unfortunately, his untimely departure left a huge void in our life. Today, we have assembled here to pay our tribute to Basu sir. HBNI organizes this function known as Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program every year on this day by inviting renowned personalities to share their thoughts and ideas towards development of science and technology in India. The first talk in this series was delivered by Dr. V.K. Saraswat, former Director General DRDO and present member Niti Aayog. Second talk was delivered by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, a noted space scientist we know and former Chairman ISRO. And today we have Sri S.K. Sarma, former Chairman and Managing Director NPCIL, with us to enlighten us through his ideas. I invite Professor P.D. Nayak, Dean HBNI, to deliver the welcome address. Please, sir.
Good morning to all, those who are present here and also those who are on WebEx and YouTube platform. Today we are here for Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Functions organized by HBNI. I, P.D. Nayak, on behalf of Umi Baba National Institute, welcome you all to Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Function. As Naveen mentioned, there is no need for this audience to mention about the contribution made by our former chairman, Atom Energy Commission, and HBNI Council of Management Chairman during his tenure as a chairman of the Atom Energy Commissions and Secretary DE. He was an extremely competent technologist with the ability to integrate multidisciplinary activities and develop multiple state-of-art technology systems. He was awarded Padma Shri by Government of India in 2014. It was a great loss to DE fraternity as well as scientific and technological community of India to lose our beloved leader, Dr. Basu, on 24th September 2020. In fact, he was our, as I told, former chairman, Council of Management. And with the generous contributions from Mrs. Basu, we are organizing this Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program every year during fourth week of September. In fact, with us, we have the A.K. Anand, former Director, Reactor Project Group, and Technical Collaborations and International Relations Group, ARC. In fact, he has guided Dr. Basu in early days of his career at BRC. And he has generously supplemented Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Fund. I welcome today's chief guest, C.S.K. Sharma, former chairman and managing director, NPCL, Dr. R. Chidambaram, our former Secretary, Department of Energy, and Principal Scientific Advisor, Government of India. We have with us Mrs. Basu, and again, his sister-in-law, Dol Basu. Thanks for coming here and joining us on these functions. We have online dignitaries like Professor R.B. Grover, Gautam Vadolia, Mrs. Sima Jain, and many others on YouTube. I'm not able to see their names here. And also we have with us Associate Deans of HBNA and many other dignitaries are present here. In fact, it is a day to remember the contributions made by Basu, and as all of us know that he is project-oriented persons, and he has completed many technologies. In some of them, a few of them, I also was a part of that. It is in fact, he's working with him like a really. He has clear-cut ideas. He knows what to do and what not to do. And so once he used to take decisions, it was perfect. Sometimes we also feel that this decision is not perfect. After thinking after 3 months down the line, we feel yes, that was the right decision, not what we thought about it. You see, he was, and when he used to think a lot on the problems and he used to take decisions, and sometimes we used to feel that, no, Basu feel like that it might have done in other way around. But down the line, after a few months, we feel that that was the right decision, that was the right way to do the things. So he was such a visionary in that sense. And I feel extremely grateful to Dr. Basu for guiding many of us to complete the project in time. That was most important things of Dr. Basu, taking the project and completing in time. In fact, I will not take more time because many more technicians are about to tell about Dr. Basu. Once again, I welcome all the persons who are here physically and also online, Professor Grover and others. Thank you for joining this program. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir. May I now request Professor Kamachi Mudli, Honorable Vice Chancellor HBNI, to present a bouquet of flowers to the chief guest. He was closest I could teach out. Why Karam Yoga? Karma, because I know that karma means action. And his creation don't make it karma is the God. Such immense contributions, they require the factor of a yogi. And typically, if I look the Indian people, I mean, that looks to the qualities of a yogi. And what are those true qualities? Those are like the perseverance, the patience, the willpower, the dedication to his work, the empathy, and above all, the renunciation, tyag bhavana. And I could find almost all these things in his life and his actions. And that's why I thought maybe that Karam Yogi is the true word to describe a person like Basu sir. And many of us have been motivated and inspired by his words and work. And in that sense, Basu sir doesn't need an introduction, particular to this audience, to the fraternity. He is well known. It is almost impossible to describe the work of a personality like Basu sir in words. He was a person who has made immense contribution to almost every area of nuclear science and technology. As Naik sir has also told, let it be front end, back end, nuclear power sector, atoms for societal benefit, etc., etc. His actions have inspired generations of researchers and engineers in DAE, and I'm sure his karma will continue to inspire. Keeping this in mind, and for the benefit of all of us, particularly the HBNI students, we thought let us screen a short movie on his life. It is just a collection of slides which we have collected from our colleagues, his colleagues, from Kalpakam also, from RPG also, and that has been compiled in the form of a slideshow. And we request, we would like to present that at least that those students of the HBNI particularly who might not be familiar, let them also get inspired like we have got inspired. I request Anurag to play the movie. Thank you. Thank you, Anurag. Today on this occasion, we have the pleasure of having another towering personality from DE family to deliver Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Talk, Sri S.K. Sarma. Sri S.K. Sarma doesn't need an introduction to this fraternity. He has guided our nuclear power program over the decades. Yet, again, for the benefit of HBNA students and our online participants, I would request Professor Kamachi Mudli to introduce the speaker to the audience and to present his opening remarks. Mudli, sir, please. Very good morning. Chief guest for the third program, Sri S.K. Sarma ji, Dr. R. Chidambaram, former chairman AAC and secretary DAE, Mrs. Debrati Basu, and Mr. Dole Basu, Mr. Anand, Dr. Grover, Mrs. Seema Jain, member finance, and other dignitaries online and offline present here. Very good morning to all of you for this third Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program. As it was mentioned, the first lecture was given by Dr. V.K. Saraswat. The second lecture was given by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan. Today we have with us from our DI family, Sri S.K. Sarma ji, who worked very closely with him during the period where he was the chairman and managing director of the Nuclear Power Corporation of Limited from 2016 to 21. I'm very proud that he accepted our invitation to come over here and talk on a topic which is very close to Dr. Basu's heart, that is the role of nuclear power in decarbonization of energy mix. Today, this is an important topic that is not only being discussed in our country, but also the worldwide. As there is rapid industrialization and economic growth going all over, particularly in our country, India, which is expected to grow at the rate of 6 to 8% in the next 25 years. There is going to be a tremendous requirement of energy in all the forms, from all sources. But if you look at the biggest source of energy today in our country is from coal and oil and gas. Coal and oil contribute so much to the green gases emission, particularly the CO2, which causes so much damage to the atmosphere and also changing the climate situation. The whole world and India today are working towards decarbonization in two ways. One is cutting down the CO2 production. Second is that neutralizing whatever CO2 that is being produced by any other source of energy. So having a proper mix of energy source where we will have less amount of CO2 release, at the same time finding out more and more innovative technologies to decarbonization is also very important. Nuclear power has been the green power, the green source of energy in the renewable energy category. We have today, it is only about 2 to 3%, while if you take coal, which is about 60 to 70%, so one can imagine the amount of contribution of this GHG, the greenhouse gases from the conventional fossil fuel based power generation, that now it is very important that we have to increase the power generation through nuclear power. I think an excellent topic that Sri Sarma ji has chosen today, that how nuclear power will play a major role in the decarbonization of the energy mix. And like all of you, I am also very pleased to listen to him and bring back the memory of our dear Dr. Basu sir, that how he has been also contributed to this during his tenure. As it was mentioned, I think I don't have to introduce S.K. Sarma ji to all the participants in this program, but for the young students who are attending this program
in online YouTube streaming, as well as all the faculties from the constituent institutions of the HPNI. I'm very proud to say a few brief biodata of Sri S.K. Sarma. Sri Satish Kumar Sarma is an electronics engineering graduate from Maulana Azad National Institute of Technology, Bhopal. After 1 year training in nuclear engineering at DRC Training School, he joined the power program of the Department of Atomic Energy. He has diverse experience of working in operation and maintenance of nuclear power stations and is endowed with rich professional experience spanning 41 years. He held several key positions like station director, site director, and director operations before working as the chairman and managing director of NPCL, the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, during June 2016 to till November 2021. Sri Satish Kumar Sarma also was deputed to the World Association of Nuclear Operators, where he worked for improving the safety and reliability of nuclear power stations across the globe. He is a keen student of safety culture and energy-related issues and has published several papers. He is the recipient of the INS Outstanding Service Award. We are very proud that Sri S.K. Sarma has accepted our invitation to deliver the third Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Lecture, and I would like to invite him to deliver the lecture on this occasion. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Kamachi Mudalli. Honorable Madam Devarati Basu, Honorable Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. Kamachi Mudalli, Dr. Anand, Dr. Nayak, Madam Dol Basu, and other seniors connected remotely, Dr. Grover, Mrs. Jain, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. It is indeed a pleasure and a matter of great prestige to be standing here in front of such renowned and august gathering to talk about energy transition pathways for the country. I do not consider myself, honestly speaking, qualified to speak in front of all of you, sir. But I will thank Dr. Kamachi Mudalli, who generously invited me and gave me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts on the subject. Experts had long been alerting about increasing concentrations of greenhouse gases and their role in global warming leading to climate changes. Discussions on responses started long back, though sluggishly and even reluctantly in some cases. Then came COP21 in 2015, culminating in Paris Agreement to limit the global temperature rise well below 2 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrialized period. Countries accordingly came up with intended nationally determined contributions and specific time-bound goals. 3 years later, IPCC came out with a special report advocating limiting the global warming to less than 1.5 degree instead of the earlier agreed 2 degrees Celsius because they assessed that the consequences of 2 degrees Celsius warming will be unacceptable. Extreme weather conditions seen repeatedly during past few years have further highlighted the risks of climate change and need for urgent actions. Accordingly, in the Glasgow conference in 2021, the world community agreed to adopt 1.5-degree limit as the goal. Bharat has consistently been doing better than most other large economies. We have already achieved our INDCs committed in Paris Agreement about 8 years in advance. And we are well poised to better our updated targets for 2030. We have committed ourselves to reduce emission intensity of GDP by 45% by the year 2030 compared to the levels of 2005, and also achieve about 50% electric power installed capacity from non-fossil fuel based sources by then. Country has also embraced net zero by 2070 as its long-term goal. Having resolved for reaching net zero, the big question is how to achieve it in an affordable manner without compromising the developmental aspirations of our growing population. Net zero involves decarbonizing the entire energy sector and not the electricity alone. Undoubtedly, with 40% share, electricity is the largest emitter of greenhouse gases, but industry and transport are the most difficult sectors to decarbonize. And these two hard to abate sectors put together account for about 32% of emissions in our country. Hydrogen, along with electricity, promises to be a successful solution to address these two sectors. It can also be used as energy carrier and a medium for storage. Now, hydrogen has three shades: gray, blue, and green. Almost all hydrogen being produced today is gray, but it will have to be replaced by green hydrogen. And that is why today, when we talk about hydrogen, we mean only the green hydrogen. And green hydrogen can be produced at the current date with the current day technologies by splitting the water either using electrolysis or thermochemical splitting. In August 2023, recently, Ministry of New and Renewable Energy issued the green hydrogen standard for India, and it explicitly talks about using renewable energy for splitting the water. Disappointingly, to me, it does not seem to include nuclear, in spite of its clean credentials. But maybe this aberration will get corrected after some time when we establish the relevance of nuclear. Today, at the level of 2 to 3% contribution to the generation of electricity in the country, it is not surprising that nuclear sometimes get missed in such policy statements. Recognizing the importance of hydrogen as a fuel for future, Honorable Prime Minister launched National Hydrogen Mission on 15th August 2021. Even with all these measures, some emissions will have to be accepted, like enteric fermentation, which accounts for almost 8% of the total emissions in the country. And for such not amenable to abate emissions, we may have to resort to some amount of carbon dioxide removal capacity from the atmosphere through afforestation or through deployment of carbon capture and storage devices. These devices today suffer from high cost and low deployment. Now, this is a vicious circle. The cost is high, so the demand is low. And since the demand is low, there is no incentive for making additional investment in the R&D to make these technologies more efficient and bring down the cost. I believe that eventually the policy intervention will break this logjam and give the needed push to development of this very vital sector. Broad strategy to net zero can be to shift most other sectors to electricity for meeting their energy needs and parallelly develop affordable pathways for decarbonization of greatly enhanced electricity requirement. Renewable energy and nuclear are two established sources of carbon-free electricity, and both have their share of challenges. Renewables are intermittent, have low PLFs, and are diffused in nature. Intermittency can be tackled by having energy storage, battery storage, and or having standby peaking capacity, though both of these are expensive. The other day, I was listening to Honorable Power Minister, of course on TV, who said that in a recent bid, the price for storage came to rupees 10 per kilowatt hour, whereas the renewable energy cost is only rupees 2.6 per kilowatt hour. So that is how the battery storage, and this we are talking about only 1 hour storage, which may not even be sufficient to meet the daily variations, what to talk about the seasonal variations. But to be fair, let us admit that the cost of batteries has been reducing steadily and the trend is likely to continue. And I will not be surprised if after some time, after few years, maybe some years, maybe a decade or so, the same kind of cost reduction we see in the battery sector, which we saw in the solar electricity or maybe in the LED lamp sectors. Similarly, maintaining standby capacity means suboptimal utilization of high value assets with the associated costs. Also, this standby capacity may not be green. Then there is the crucial question of the availability of land. Renewable energy being diffused source needs more land. This aspect often gets ignored or overlooked because the current level of renewable integration in our grid is rather low. But a study by Stanford University and MIT says that solar requires about 100 times more land compared to nuclear for the same capacity. It needs even more, depending upon whether it is onshore or offshore. It may be as high as 500 times. Another recent Bharat-specific study by a task force of Vivekanand International Foundation concludes that we will need more than double the land available in the country if we limit the share of nuclear to 5% in the net zero scenario. So simply the land will not be available if we want to meet all our electricity needs through the renewable source only. On the other hand, nuclear is base load. It operates at high plant load factors and has high energy density. but it suffers from longer gestation periods, high capital cost, and adverse public perception. Next comes the question of affordability, which is very important because there is a direct correlation between the energy consumption and the development. And the developed world today has reached these levels of development by exploiting abundantly available cheap energy sources. Now, when our country, which is a developing country with growing aspiration for improving the quality of life, is embarking on a path of rapid industrialization and development, denying the electricity because it becomes unaffordable means denying the genuine needs of the people. And that too because of the irresponsible consumption and behavior of the haves. Therefore, question of affordability assumes, to my mind, very significant importance, maybe the primary importance. To look at some of the numbers, Urban Development Index, which is globally accepted as a measure of the quality of life, is only 0.67 for our country. We increase it to a very modest number of 0.8 also require increasing the primary energy consumption from the current levels of 7,000 kilowatt hour per capita per annum to about 25,000 kilowatt hour per capita per annum. And all these energy should be available at the affordable cost so that the developmental aspirations of the country are not compromised with. Many optimization studies have been carried out at various places at various times. Those done by MIT and IEA are better known to the community. Recently, a Bharat-specific mathematical modeling was done by IIT Bombay for a study being undertaken by the Vivekananda International Foundation, which is a very respected and renowned think tank in the country. And this modeling examined the price of electricity for various energy mix in Indian context, ranging from the renewable heavy, where the renewables contribute 95% of the electricity with nuclear only 5%, to nuclear heavy, where nuclear contributes 95% and renewable contribute only 5%. Of course, both are extremes. And a host of other mixes were also examined by the modeling. The results are interesting. The cost of electricity is estimated to be 8.6 rupees per unit for the nuclear heavy scenario. That means 95% electricity coming from the nuclear. But it increases by about 60% to rupees 13.6 per unit in the renewable heavy scenario when the 95% electricity is from the renewable. The cost of transition also increases from $11.2 trillion to $15.5 trillion. So, significant contribution from nuclear is inevitable for the affordability of the tariff. And since we are targeting as shifting all the energy requirement or the most of the energy requirements to the electricity, so the electricity needs to be affordable. Same IIT Bombay model estimates nuclear contribution in 2070 to be 284 gigawatt if the nuclear contribution is 5%. Now, nobody expects nuclear to contribute 95% of the electricity, but then 5% also appears to be rather low, especially when we see that America and Europe, in both cases, nuclear contributes about 20% of the electricity. China is also ramping up its nuclear capacity to take it to about 10%. So 10% can be a more reasonable target for India. But even if we consider only 5%, the required capacity will be huge, 284 gigawatt by the year 2070. That means a net addition rate of about 6 gigawatt per year for next 47 years. Of course, all these projections can change due to some disruptive technological developments during the course of transition. Let us see how are we poised for meeting this mammoth challenge. Today, about 6.1 gigawatt of capacity is under construction. Nuclear capacity, I'm talking. And another 8.4 gigawatt capacity has been accorded administrative approval and financial sanction. So when all these projects are completed, the installed capacity will increase from the current level of 7.5 gigawatt to about 22 gigawatt. Looks a good increase, but is it sufficient? The requirement, even for the very basic 5% goal, is of 6 gigawatt per year. So certainly we cannot wait for the completion of all these projects before we start thinking about planning further additions. They will have to be planned today with a sense of urgency. And here I would like to move a little sideways. I recall that Dr. Sekhar Basu recognized this need much more in advance in the year 2015-16, when he came up with the idea of fleet mode construction. And he convinced the government to accord approval for constructing 10 700 megawatt PSWRs in the fleet mode at its stage when even the first 700 megawatt PSWR has not been constructed. Usually, the faster repetition is done after first few units are completed and they demonstrate the successful operation performance. But he recognized the fact that if we wait for the completion of these projects, these 4 units which we are under construction at that time, and then think of triplicating at a faster pace, probably the time will run out. So that is the vision of the leaders. Today also, we need to work with the same kind of vision and same kind of determination. Of course, there will be some additionalities coming from the imported reactors, but our own indigenous 700 megawatt PSWRs are going to be our mainstay in our capacity addition ambitions and programs. And we should immediately start looking for the sites to locate these new power stations. For the initial few units, the existing sites can be examined to accommodate few more units like Rawatbhata Rajasthan site, Narora, Tarapur, etc. But eventually we will need new sites, greenfield sites, and in large numbers. Of course, Jatapur and Kovada also can accommodate a few PSWR units in addition to the imported light water reactors for which are envisaged there. Another fact is, or rather it is my opinion, my assessment, that NPCIL alone may not be able to undertake such a onerous task. And there is a need to have many more NPCILs. In the current legal framework, joint ventures with other energy companies like NTPC, Oil India, or ONGC, or Coal India may be asked, may be requested, may be directed to take the responsibility for implementation of a part of the program. Some efforts I know are being made in this direction, but these efforts need to be expedited, to say the least. In its current state, the Atomic Energy Act does not allow private participation, or the majority private participation in the nuclear sector. In my opinion, the private industries, private sector in India has matured to a level where it can responsibly undertake this sensitive sector as well, or this sensitive technology as well. And probably it is the need of the hour that we start considering inclusion of enabling provisions in the Atomic Energy Act for participation of private sector, especially with the advent of SMRs, small modular reactors. That reminds me about one more important job which should be undertaken, or task which should be undertaken with sense of urgency. That is the development of our own SMRs and high temperature reactors. SMRs for rapid capacity addition using sites to be vacated by retiring coal plants, and STGR for more efficient and affordable hydrogen production. This brings us to the question of what should the nuclear fraternity in India do? Number one, we should start modifying the design to include some load following capability, because it will be a reasonable expectation of a renewable heavy grid from nuclear in the absence of fossil fuel sources to have some kind of flexing capability. And maybe hydrogen cogeneration may help in finding the solutions. Then recently, all the new builds throughout the world, with the exception of China, have been suffering with the construction delays. These delays have the effect of increasing the cost of the implementation and ultimately the tariff, which affects the affordability. Therefore, these delays should definitely be eliminated. And we had been implementing, in India at least, the NPCIL had been implementing the projects at Tarapur and Rajasthan 5-6 and Kaiga 3-4 within schedule, within budget. Again, we need to quickly learn the lessons from the experience of 700 megawatt PSWRs and eliminate all the construction delays. Some of the ideas which come to my mind immediately based upon the experience are to have more agencies for geotechnical studies. Often it becomes a bottleneck. The same agency is doing geotechnical studies for this site as well as that site and some other sites also. Then becomes difficult to realize the same kind of expeditious working at all sites. Our own AMD has the technical capabilities with some support from NPCIL and of course Department of Atomic Energy. It can be developed or it can be made available for doing expeditious geotechnical studies, which will anyway be needed in case of each and every new construction. Then timely availability of clearances is another very important aspect. We must recognize that regulatory clearances are essential and they cannot be expedited beyond a certain point. So the key to success here is to make quality submissions early, before time. And AERB on its part has also streamlined its processes. Now we have to take advantage of those that streamlining and also in line with our own requirements, we should start early. Then availability of good for construction engineering drawings before start of construction. Issuing advance orders for long manufacturing cycle equipment so that the construction does not have to wait for the delivery of these equipment. Fixing realistic delivery schedules for such equipment based upon the past performance and capability of the manufacturers. Because there is no point in having an unrealistic manufacturing schedule. Because ultimately the equipment will not be delivered and there will be disruptions in the construction schedules. Incorporating another very important point is to incorporate approved quality assurance plans in the tenders itself so that the bidder knows what is going to be the cost of quality inspection or quality assurance and he accordingly factors it. Also, it will avoid unnecessary discussions and debates. And there may be a need of optimizing the work packages based upon the experience of implementing 4 reactors to some extent. Need to further bring down the cost of nuclear power. And the key is to bring down the cost of investment, capital investment, the construction cost. This can be achieved by standardization of design and repeating it in the fleet mode, placing bulk orders for multiple reactors to take advantage of economy of numbers. We need to develop more vendors to increase the manufacturing capacity and more to increase the competition because monopoly is never good. The industry, especially the industry in India, can adopt modular construction techniques to cut down the construction times. Then there may be a need to have a fresh look at the design in its entirety to look for the optimization opportunities. Sometimes we keep on making fresh provisions in the design and in the process we keep on adding the redundancies or the extra equipment. Then there is a case for further increasing the rated power for bringing down the per megawatt cost. Of course, for this, we may have to resort to use of slightly enriched uranium so that the refueling load and all other related things are manageable. Human resource is a key to the implementation of successful implementation of the program. And that is why attracting the talent, retaining the talent, both are important. This can be done by better projection of the brand NPCIL. Talk to anybody in Mumbai. Even the DAE is not recognized. We all are recognized by the brand BARC. May not be important for NPCIL to have that kind of recognition in Mumbai. But in the engineering colleges, brand NPCIL should be known and recognized, respected. For retaining the talent, because preparing a nuclear engineer needs a lot of resources and years of investment. They should be retained. For retaining them, we should be listening more often and more seriously to their aspirations. Many times listening alone solves the problem. There are limitations in meeting the aspirations, but at least there is no cost and no difficulty in listening to the aspirations. Another practical solution may be to take care of the immediate increase in the need of experienced engineers is by re-employment after retirement. At today's level of medical facilities and the standards of health, I think 60 years is not an age when we can say that the person is not fit for working anymore. We may not be able to change the age of retirement, but certainly some provisions can be created for redeploying, re-employing some of these engineers in suitable manner. Another key aspect for rapid growth of the program is to gain public acceptance. Now, nuclear power per se enjoys good acceptability in this country. People generally have no difficulty in accepting nuclear power stations, but they don't want them to be located in their neighborhood. Now, this needs to be analyzed. Why so? Because my opinion is that because they don't see any benefit for themselves in hosting a nuclear power station. Whereas there is that perception of risk, right or wrong, real or imaginary, doesn't matter, but there is a perception of risk. So we need to create incentives for hosting the nuclear power stations in the neighborhood by having some innovative methods or adopting innovative methods or innovative thinking. It can be done through giving them preference in the employment, at least up to certain level. Giving them systematic preference in award of service contracts. We need boiler suits. Why should we give the contract for stitching the boiler suits and supplying boiler suits to somebody sitting in Delhi or Mumbai or Chennai? Why it cannot be done by the cooperatives of maybe the local woman in Rawatbata or in Narora or in Kakrapar? And some kind of encouragement may be needed from NPCIL, but this will give them a sort of sense of partnership, not only in sharing the risk, but also in sharing the benefits. Also, they may be made partners in the welfare activities being undertaken under corporate social responsibility. And this corporate social responsibility also can go much beyond the legally mandated 2% of the profit. Because the extra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% is almost nothing in comparison to the cost of installation of one nuclear power plant. Then there will always be need to continue with our efforts for clarifying the genuine concerns of the people through engagement and engaging public representatives and community elders, teachers and students, medical professionals may be of help here, because these are the people who influence the opinion. These are the people who are respected by the local communities. Once we have tidied up our house and demonstrated our ability to deliver on time and within budget, we may be able to request and convince the government for policy support at par with renewables and moratorium from payment of dividend, which will free internal surplus for funding the equity portion of capital investment, thus reducing the uncertainty. Again, it reminds, or it brings me back to the memories of Dr. Sekhar Basu. Many of these ideas were actually conceived by him, which I am talking here today in front of you, were actually conceived by him and were taught by him to us. He always used to tell me and my colleagues in Nuclear Power Corporation that this is a rare opportunity. If you do not take advantage of this opportunity, then you are going to waste the superiority of this technology, the nuclear power technology. And today, when we remember him, we should always remember that we should not allow the superiority to be wasted. Also, somebody said he was a karma yogi. Very correctly said, very aptly said. Because whenever we said something, he was a person who believed in doing rather than talking. And whenever we made some promises, presented some plans, some projections, he will say one simple thing, karke dikhao. And for some time, this became a sort of buzzword or the very often used sentence in NPCIL. Whenever somebody will say something, some promises, some projections, or some, I think some promises, somebody or else will stand up and say, karke dikhao. And we all used to remember Dr. Basu that he taught us karke dikhao. Talking alone is not sufficient. So the fraternity also needs to understand the same, that today is the need of today is karke dikhao. There are many plans, there are many pathways, but there is no time to waste in deliberations, discussions. We need to start doing it, and we need to demonstrate it that we can do it. Thank you, Dr. Mudalli, for giving me the opportunity. And thank you, all of you, for listening to me patiently. I really, once again, I say I feel honored to have shared some of my thoughts with you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Thank you, sir, for your scientifically enriching, stimulating, and a thought-provoking talk. And as you said rightly, that Basu sir is a renowned scientist. One may be tempted to say was a renowned scientist or a renowned this technologist, but he is, because such people, they never depart. They live in our hearts, and as you have told rightly, that the candle of inspiration and Karam Yoga lit by him, that will keep on inspiring in our hearts for to do something in the service of the nation. And once again, I thank you, sir, for your remarkable this talk on this occasion. Now I request Professor Mudli sir to present a memento to Sarma sir as a token of our love and affection. This brings us to the end of today's program. And now it is my pleasure and duty to propose the vote of thanks. First of all, on behalf of HBNI, I thank Sri Sarma sir for accepting our invitation and for delivering a thought-provoking talk on this occasion. Sir has covered in such a short time that reminded me of my school days when I studied this Montreal Protocol, Kyoto Protocol, Earth Summit, Sustainable Development. At that time, these used to be something like not related to us. In reality, let me tell you, sir, I never used to believe, and maybe many of the reasons were that Western phobia. It used to be like that these are the terms which are coined by the Western countries to limit the development of developing countries. That was my initial thought. But now when I'm today here, we know that this is a reality. And you have such nicely, sir, covered these issues like global warming, climate change, grid stability, and then the path forward, the role of nuclear energy in this energy mix. And particularly so lucidly explaining that what is the need for the advanced nuclear systems, what should be the features of those advanced nuclear systems, and what kind of reactors those should be. I'm sure, sir, that many of us will be inspired by your ideas and we would like to put them into action. Thank you very much, sir, once again for accepting our invitation and for being here with us. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank Madam Devrati Basu for sparing her valuable time to visit HBNI, to be physically here on this occasion, ma'am. When I say that Dr. Basu, sir, has made many sacrifices as a Karma Yogi in his life, I know it not only restricted to Basu, sir, it is applicable to entire family. Because, see, it is not an easy to live the comfortable life of a metro with many opportunities for the growth, for the family, for spouse also, because now I know I have kids, I have a spouse also, because earlier it might not have been true, and then move to a remote place. It takes courage to sacrifice these opportunities and to travel to remote place for the sake of the nation. And in that sense, Madam Basu, that has also contributed a lot to these sacrifices. Thank you, Madam, once again for being here with us on this occasion. I also thank Mrs. Dola Basu, Madam, to be here on this occasion with us. I would like to thank Dr. R. Chidambaram, Dr. A.K. Anand for being here with us. Your very presence itself, sir, is a great source of inspiration for youngsters like me. Because you are the living source of that inspiration. You have guided our nuclear program, and I have the opportunity to listen to you people on many occasions. And personally, I have benefited, and I'm sure that by your presence itself, many of my students or here HPNA students, they will get inspired. Thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank Professor Mudli, Vice Chancellor HBNI, Dr. Naik, Dean HBNI, for their valuable support and guidance in organizing this program. I also thank Dr. R.B. Grover, Mrs. Seema Jan Madam, for their gracious presence in online mode on this occasion, and I might have missed many seniors also over here. I would like to thank them also for being present online on this occasion. I also thank many of my mentors and guides in DE family who have participated online. I also thank my colleagues at HBNI who are there to participate in this event, my colleagues, associate deans, assistant deans. And above all, I would also like to thank all the participants, faculty members, students, online, offline, for their participation. And last but not the least, I would like to thank my colleagues in HBNI, my IT team for providing all the logistics for the event. Thank you very much. Thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Now I invite all of you for lunch. Sorry, for national anthem. I'm sorry. जन मन अधिनायक दया है भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा जल जल तरंगा जागे सब शुभ आशीष आहे जन गण मंगल ये विधाता जया हे जया हे। जय हिंद, जय भारत। थैंक यू।